Alright, we're going to replace the orifice tube, the fixed orifice tube in this 1984 GM car. This is a Monte Carlo 84. This type of system was used in a lot of GM cars from the 1970s through probably to the trucks in the 1990s. And I think the Ford system was very similar. So the orifice tube is located in this line, which is basically the inlet to the evaporator. You can see there's a little crimp in the hose there, and that prevents the orifice tube from moving too far into the line. Here's the new orifice tube. It basically meters the amount of refrigerant going into the evaporator, and there's a filter screen in it as well. Let's see, it basically sits in that line like that. The old one is still in there, and I think the crimp kind of stops it around there. Just to review how the system works very briefly. Compressors over here on these cars. Compressor, so the pressure comes out of here, out of the compressor here, goes into the condenser, gets cooled down like a radiator in front of the car. Refrigerant comes back out the other side of the condenser, goes across this high pressure line here, across the front of the car, underneath, and then comes here. There's the high side port, and then there's a fitting here, and then we get into the orifice tube, which then goes into the evaporator, and then the fan motor blows the cold air into the cabin of the vehicle. And then here's the low side of the, well, effectively the low side starts after the tube, and this is all low side, low side, low side into the accumulator. There's a tube on the bottom of the accumulator, and that hose is that tube is kind of hidden, but it goes back, snakes its way over here, and goes back into the compressor to be compressed again, and the cycle resumes. So we're going to replace the orifice tube today. Alright, the system's all depressurized and evacuated properly. So we'll undo this fitting. I don't recommend that anybody does this. All this work should be done by an AC shop. This is just a demonstration. This isn't a recommendation or a suggestion to do this. This is just a technical demonstration about how the system works. Okay, this is depressurized. This comes apart. There's an O-ring there. The expansion tube's sitting in here. Okay. I'll see if I can demonstrate that. You can kind of just see the tip of it there. Now, these can be sticky, and if you break it or deform that tube, you can be in trouble, and then you're starting to have to replace the whole evaporators and everything else. So you're better off going slow with these removals. The first thing that I've done here, and I did this the other day, is I used a little eyedropper thing, and I put some refrigerant oil. I just stuck it down there and tried to squirt some oil all around so that the oil can start working on those O-rings down here if they happen to be stuck. Okay, the oil might help this come out a little easier. A lot of people grab some needle nose pliers and try to yank that tube out by grabbing onto it. Now, that's dangerous. This one's really sticky. People try and twist it, they get broken, and then you're in trouble. I wouldn't recommend that you do that. In fact, as I mentioned, I wouldn't recommend you do any of this. But if someone were to do this, I'd recommend getting one of these tools. This is an orifice tube removal tool, and it grabs onto the tube, to the end of the tube, and allows you to pull it out. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll hook onto that tube, and there's little tabs, which I'll show you on the new one, and they just start yanking on it. Now, that might give you enough of a grip to yank on it. Some people will twist on it and twist it out. That might work. But the proper way to use this tool is to grab onto the tube and then thread this So you can see here the little tab here. Let me just focus this for you. There's those little tabs, and the tool clips down onto those tabs and then kind of locks in place, and then that gives you a real good grip on it. And there's the temptation to yank it out. That might work because you have such a good grip on this, but it could also break this tube, deform the line that it's in, particularly if you start twisting it. So the proper way to use the tool is as follows. Take the tool, you want to thread the nut part down to leave about 1 inch of tool to put in, and line it up with the orifice tube, get it in and turn to lock it in place. You can feel it's locked in there because I can pull on it a bit, and then resist the temptation to start twisting and pulling. This works like a puller. Okay, you turn this clockwise, and there's actually a little seat here that fitting sits in nicely. It's designed for this. Okay, keep the T where it is. Okay, keep that oriented like that. So you kind of want to hold on to the T so you're not twisting, and then just start cranking this nut clockwise so it's used as a puller. Okay, there's a knurled piece of metal here to give you a nice grip. Okay, and keep going. Now, if it doesn't come out right away, don't force it. The key with this stuff is not to force. Apply some heat. Here's a heat gun. Okay, I'm going to warm that line up a little bit. That might loosen those O-rings, expand the metal. Watch the electrical wires. Keep twisting it. Eventually you'll kind of feel it start to come. Again, resist the urge to twist it, just keep coming straight out. Grab onto that bad boy again. Man, see, they get stuck in there big time. Wow. Like that. Take your time. Take your time and don't rush this. And it'll come out. Because if something breaks in there, or you bugger up this line, you've saved 10 minutes and cost yourself probably 2 hours and a bunch of money. That's how they come out. Some junk in there. Metal filings. Some oil. Okay, so here's the new tube, right? So that tube's sitting in that line like that. Now you see this tool fits on like that, pushes in, then kind of locks on that tab. And you see it's grabbing here. It's also grabbing on a little tab there, a little tab on that side, and a little tab on that side. There's 4 places where it grabs onto. So you get a really good grip on that tube. I got some long Q-tips here. There was some junk in that tube, so I'm just going to make sure there's nothing that would prevent the tube and the O-ring from sealing. A little black in there, but doesn't appear to be any major solid pieces that I can see, but we'll clean it up anyways. with a couple of these. And then we'll put some oil, some refrigerant oil all on this, so especially on the O-ring, so that we can slide the new one in. There's my oil. Put a little bit of this in here. The new tube ready. Make sure it's nice and coated. And one more little bit in here. Alright, you can also use the tool to put the new tube in, so you have a nice solid piece to hang on to, like that. You want to put it in the same way as it came out. This one was horizontal across like this, so I'm going to put that in the same way. Okay. Until you feel it kind of seat in there. Make sure it's all the way in. Yeah. Yep, and that looks like it was before. Well, that's good. That's it. Put a little bit of oil in this O-ring, or replace it if you have O-rings, to be safe. And that's how you replace an orifice tube, with this handy tool. You can try it with needle nose pliers, you can try it other ways, but honestly, it's kind of one of those tools that it's worth getting, and it's worth just going real slow when you do this. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.